Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So, welcome, late spring. Been a bit crazy around in my life and haven't been able to get onto the farm. So I've been cleaning up my pigs, which obviously waited too long. So I'm having to do kind of everything on the farm today. And I may or may not have time to do it. So I'm doing what I can. I have to stop in just a few minutes to get some other stuff done around my life, and I haven't even begun to do any kind of planting. I was almost ready to throw in the towel and either scrap the year or do something a little bit later in the fall, do a fall planting, but either way that's still kind of scrapping the year. But I think at a minimum I should be able to plant this north field here. I'm going to go ahead and go with oats is what I decided to do, just because there's not a whole lot of variety in Farming Simulator that we're able to do, and at this point, being on the farm as long as I have, I've kind of done most everything other than the super specialty crops like cotton and sugarcane. And again, I've done cotton. I've got episodes of cotton on Seneca, lots and lots of it, so I know the reality of cotton as well. And right now, I'm not looking to step into that role. No, I guess it ultimately doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, this isn't where I put the tanker now that I think about it, but it is where I'm going to put it this time, because it honestly doesn't matter where I put it, as long as I put it somewhere. And the shed is kind of the I think I'm going to regret this, because I'm guessing I've just wrapped it around a pole and it's going to get stuck. Oh, thank goodness. Alright, so as I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and actually use this wonderful auger that I've got out here that I'd never use because I just have been doing some crazy stuff instead, and I'm just going to go ahead and refill my planter that way, or my seeder. Still struggling with the right words, right? So I know I need some seed, and I obviously need some fertilizer. So, and this is obviously going to be substantially easier to deal with here. So I don't need a ton of seeds, so let me see. I think, oh, well, is that all I have? I assume, so this could get interesting, because I don't think that's enough to fill. So I did verify, the silo is in fact empty. So get me what it gets me, and I guess I'll worry about it later. Because, when it rains, it pours. I, of course, haven't gotten in the habit of filling my materials. Can I get there with this? I should be able to. There we go. I think that'll do it. So, we'll see. And obviously we didn't fill it, because I can't see seed in there. But we should be closer. I'm trying to remember. I don't even think I did half of it, so I should be really close. But I think when I planted the canola, I hadn't even emptied one of the bins, so that back bin was full. But it is like 5,600, I think, for each of the seed bins, and we only had 4,500. And I think I had a little bit left there. This is a liquid. but this will work. So now this can be 10 or 11,000, so, but once again, I think I had half, so let me do that, and then I'll go ahead and fill that. But, you know, rather than getting stuck, I guess I could have just gone around instead of driving through here and come back through here when I was done, but not doing that right now. I've made my choice. I've turned around, so we're on our way. Now, but typically, the way I've used an auger before is so yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll pull around and then I can get a better run. The problem was coming around and avoiding the seed hawk with the arm out. That's the other thing I could have done differently, I guess, is put the arm away. But, you know, here I can come in a lot closer, and then that will put it where it needs to be to fill this. Okay, I thought I saw it starting to pour. There we go. So hopefully, there we go. It did fill it up. You know, and the nice thing now is I can just fold the arm away. Kind of the catch point goes away, but even there I still caught it. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, what can I do potentially differently? Not much. Unless I just don't want to put this under there, because it's way too big to fit in my other sheds. I'm just trying to find a way to kind of put this, to make it easier to get the planter in. And right now I'm not sure there is one. I'd almost have to tuck it in on this side. And again, I'm using the wrong word. I'm looking at a planter. And the other thing I can do is, there's nothing that says I can't just leave it outside, that I have too much stuff. So I've gone ahead, that looks like a good spot for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. At this point, I need to take a pause. So I'll get myself out by the cedar so that I'm ready to go when I can get back on. And we'll see what the situation is before I stop here, and I can at least worry about it the whole time I'm doing other things, right? About, am I going to finish with enough seeds or not? I was worried I pulled too close, but alright, well, we got really close. We have less than 1,000, so could be worse, that's for sure. And this was way better than getting stuck on the silos and so forth. So I'll be back in a bit, and we'll get some oats in the ground. I just don't know that I'm going to have enough time to then spray. But I'm going to do my best, and I'll explain why if I remember later. So, talk to you in a bit. I've finally been able to get back for a little bit here. Got everything set and ready to go. Or, well, it's unfolding, obviously. But we're set for oats. So, lower down. And at this point, should be able to start planting. There we go. Alright, so the seeds go pretty fast. So I may need more seeds before this is over. So I'm going to have a little bit of a trip there in the center. Even the fertilizer seems to be moving at a pretty good clip here. Alright, I'm going to pop off the line because I'm already in danger of hitting the pigsty, which would be bad. So yeah, just a lot of issues kept me busy in real life, didn't allow me to come back on here. So it really has become a bit of a rush here to do everything I can today while I still have a busy day. I had a bunch of things I had to get done this morning. Finish those. Actually have one that I didn't, but not because of this. It just, I had had enough and was like, all right, I've done 4 out of 5 things. The other thing could wait a little bit if it needs to. So at this point, I'm doing that just so I can at least get the oats in, because if I don't do that today, then I have no choice but to wait till the fall, and I'd prefer not to do that if I can avoid that. Alright, so it's just going to be pretty tight because I moved over some, so this is going to overlap, as you well know, a bit. Well, quite a bit, obviously. So, alright, so I keep moving along and start putting more into the ground. So, what I was alluding to a moment ago, and I said if I remember, I do remember, but unfortunately what I was hoping, I swore I had already planted oats somewhere in this farm earlier in one of the prior years, but I have not. I've done wheat, I've done barley, I've never done oats here. I've done oats in Seneca, but that was FS19 as well. So it doesn't really translate, because what I was going to do, which would then require that I fertilize or spray for weeds today, which now removes that requirement, which probably honestly helps me, because if I just want to spray later, I can do so, and then kind of run it the other way. So my thought was, part of why I'm spraying for weeds early is I was told by the person that suggested it that you get a 15% yield, well, you avoid a 15% yield penalty if you spray before weeds emerge. And the only way I know to test that with any degree of certainty is to basically do a crop without it, which if I had done oats ahead of time would have qualified, and then do one with it. Now again, I don't necessarily have to do it with the oats here, and then I understand, like, hey, if it does and I don't have time or I don't have the willingness to do it, I may lose 15% of my output on the oats. But right now I'm still frankly skeptical on whether that's accurate or not, because I've just heard so many things that are supposed to happen for yield improvement that I've really not been able to verify. One of them was bees. I don't know how I can tell other than Giants telling me, hey, if you're within whatever it was, 150 meters of a beehive and you plant these 4 or 5 crop types, you're going to get a yield boost. But there was nothing that showed that on the additional field info, and I don't know how I would know. That would be harder to determine, because I'd have to basically be paying attention to harvest in some way where I knew I went a certain distance, and it's not as if I can measure as I go and say, alright, I've harvested 100 meters of this crop in the proximity of the beehive, and I've harvested 100 meters clearly far from the beehive, so say at the north end of this field, and did I get a different output? But that would have been a lot, and secondly, there's nothing that I know of, because I think measure itself works when you're on the ground and walking. I don't think I can use it in a vehicle. Not tried, but in any event, you can see I wasn't interested enough to delve into that. But this would be easier, but once again, I can achieve the same thing by eventually planting wheat and barley in the same location, for example, or any other crop I planted prior to the last couple years, because I've only been doing the spraying on the last 2 crops. So that might mean, now that I think of it, I might be able to look at my data on soybeans, because I may have planted soybeans twice, and soybeans were the first crop I did with the new early spraying, and then if I had run it again, it would have been without. So that was what I was getting at when I said, well, you know, I'm really trying to do some stuff, but I don't know that I'll be able to. And what I needed to verify that I wasn't clear on was, had I planted oats? Because even if I had planted it, say, south, on the south end, with my measurement that I did do of the field boundaries, the estimation is that's about 10 acres larger than this 55-ish acre portion up here. That one's about 65. And so that would have been, in essence, a 20% area boost. So I should, in theory, if I was getting a 15% avoidance of yield penalty, then my oats here, even if I had planted at the south, should have been, the output should have been basically the same. It would have been slightly less because obviously I'd be gaining 15% of avoiding a penalty versus 20% more field over there. So it wouldn't have been apples for apples specifically, but it would have been close. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to have a little bit left at the end, so probably going to have to run the edge, which is what I normally need to do. But yeah, I really don't know if I'm going to be able to get to the herbicide today, or if I'm going to do it separately. And at this point, it clearly doesn't matter, because it would be, there'd be more pressure on me to do it if I already had oats in the field and I already had the flip side. But at this point, I don't. So I can just do it on another crop where I have more time. And if I get to it, I get to it. And I'm still going to have the issue where this crop is not going to help me. So other than just being done and potentially getting that benefit that I might determine later is real, and getting more oats off the field, there's really no value of doing that right now in that scheme of things, because otherwise I'd have to plant an oat crop and then not fertilize or not spray it for weeds at the same time. So it's just a little confusing and a little bit of turning things around and so forth. So point being, I don't have to do it. I'm not going to lose anything of what I was hoping to get done or learn in the short term. So no other fields have come up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover before I kind of let you go and call this the latest installment of Misty Hills. But no new fields are up for auction. I don't believe anybody bought any of the ones that were up, other than 18 that we talked about. That one is in possession of Nick down there, so he now has 18, 19, and 20. And the only other thing I'm potentially debating is, given the fact that there's a little bit of this niggling of, it might be interesting to do cows, just to add something to Misty Hills here and kind of set them up somewhere. But I need grass to do that. The two fields next to me, 12, and the one straight over there I think is 39. Those are actually, I think they're actually a little smaller than 8. Or they might be just a little bit bigger, but basically they're similar in size. So right now 21, which is the one up in the corner, where early on here in Shellbrook, if you had seen the episode where I gave the farm tour and found out that Swede had violated the FSN easement of the road with his shed and had to move it, and he had also eaten into the field a little bit, that one is up right now, but that one is still like $1.2 million, where field 8 was like $700,000. So it's clearly more acreage up there, and I'm not looking for more. I'm looking for very close to the same or less if I do anything, and obviously proximity, because there are some smaller fields in other areas, but I'm not going to be driving to do grass work. You know, and if I go that route, obviously we're looking at equipment, we're looking at facilities. I definitely would be delving into my funds, but right now my funds aren't really doing much else. Whoops, let me circle around. I've got to do the edge here now. So now I've got to go further away to do that so that I can position myself, and I realized too late that that was my goal, and then it would have basically been a poor example of getting the edge. So now we're in a better position. So I will get that taken care of. But yeah, I think that gets you up to speed on what's in my head, what I'm potentially thinking about. So none of those fields have come up right now, so I haven't been tempted. But that would give me the option to do that, or, you know, part of the benefit of 8 was I'd have that door open to me, and if I chose not to take it, at least I had the benefit of being able to get through the field and just drive anywhere I wanted. Now I can drive through the field thanks to the road that Rent had put in, but I'm still a nervous wreck every time I do it. So I'm doing it right now, but I'm pretty sure the first time I screw something up and end up in his crop, I'm just gonna stop doing it, and then I'll be sad that I didn't get 8 so that I could just drive through grass. But anyway, but right now he's got soybeans in there, which you may have seen when I was showing you, I think, the return from the slurry when I jumped in. We were coming back through the field, but I don't know that the plants are that distinctive. I had to jump out and look at it to have it tell me what they were. So this is having fun up this hill. It always does, but much slower. But let's see. Alright, so that'll work. I'll move that over here, and yeah, I'll just worry about that one when I'm doing the edge, so that'll be okay. But I'm going to get these done going across for the most part. That's kind of what I've been doing. But yeah, this is field 12 that was Swede. You can see all his equipment, everything is gone. Got to tidy up that little piece that he planted, but I think the rest of it, oh no, I guess it does need to be plowed. So if that comes up, it'll need to be done. I have gone ahead and issued a plowing contract for one of the other fields before. I think I've done everything that I'm interested in doing at this point. If I have time, just to save a little bit of money, maybe, you know, for the community funds, I might plow something else if I'm bored and looking to do that. But at this point, I was perfectly fine putting out a $10,000 contract and having someone plow field 16. So we are caught up on plowing with everything that has come up, except for 21 now, which is up there. So there's likely going to be a contract for that, although I was debating potentially taking a look at it in case I suddenly got the bug to say, alright, this could be a field that I could use. I just don't know that I'm going to get to it as far as before the auction ends, because I think it ends tomorrow, and again, I don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to make a hasty decision and then suddenly have land I really don't want. So, because that one's far enough away. I mean, these others are close enough that I could do whatever. Bring in forage. You know, we'd have to be doing TMR and this and that, so a lot to think about with the cows, but this should be a cash crop. I'm not planning on saving any of it for my pigs, so this will get us some money. We have the other money that we had from, I think it was the sorghum, or no, I don't remember what it was that for some crop I had sold recently and sent to my warehouses and sold it through the resource exchange. I don't remember if it was soybeans or... Yeah, it was the soybeans, that's right, because I'm just down to like 30,000 in soybeans because I went ahead and used the corn or whatever, or sunflowers. I love this part of the field because that happens. So I always have to dance around. I guess a lot of times that's off camera, but now you see that where it's just a dip in the ground and the planter obviously loses touch with the ground at certain points. But yeah, that gets you up to speed with everything, and we have some extra money from the soybeans. We'll start getting to the point where I think we're now making some profit, and if I'm doing that, it becomes easier to bite off doing something else on the farm. It just really becomes a work decision if I want to do that, because the question almost becomes, do I turn in pigs and just do cows? I don't know. I'll figure it out at some point, and usually probably the easiest decision is to not make one, and so I may just keep doing what I'm doing, because right now I've got a lot of stuff scheduled. There's just going to be a lot of challenges like the last couple days where I couldn't get in here, and to me cows are synonymous with consistent presence on the server just because of how I had to do it in FS19, and not seeing a whole lot of difference in FS22. I'm using them on the VIP series. I'm starting to need some of that for the VIP orders over there. So I'm getting some exposure, and likely that will ultimately then decide what I do here. And of course the fields need to come up, and as we've seen, sometimes it takes a decade, so it could be 6 months before, or 4 or 5 months before we see either of these fields here even come up for auction. So that will help delay the decision anyway, because I'm not going to just start randomly looking for fields. Again, if I got 8, that would have put me in a spot to do something, but the problem becomes with those other 2, I don't need them to drive through them. So purchasing them and then not using them at all would just be obviously just throwing money down for nothing. So that wouldn't be a good financial decision. So I'll keep mulling it over, and I'll see what I decide to do. But at this point, I'm just going to get this planted. I may get it sprayed for weeds. If I do, I'll probably not worry about sharing that. You've seen it way ahead on episodes at this point. Don't need content at that point. I'm sure we'll have plenty with everything else going around. There's always something to do on the farm that I can capture, and I'll just keep plugging away as I continue to create more problems for myself, because yeah, that one is going to have a piece left again. Even now I'm not getting enough of a swing, and more left over, so I'm going to have all kinds of fun touch up here when I'm finally able to stop. But thanks for following along. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, please comment. Love to have conversations with you guys about stuff, and I will see you next time.